the North Apennines, Italy. Here, in the mountains just outside Florence, a young Leonardo da Vinci spent much of his time examining the mysteries of nature. Because his parents were not married, he was excluded from the prestigious academies attended by many of his contemporaries.
In Florence, the Platonic Academy is reformed and this Institute of Learning comes about. Now we know that Leonardo da Vinci is not allowed to enter this academy.
This is a young man who's pretty much left on his own in some ways for up to 19 years, traveling around the countryside. He was looking at rocks, he was studying birds, he was looking at the flow of water, he was studying mountains. He was literally immersed in nature. No other artist in the Renaissance really showed that much interest in the natural world and the surrounding world.
He strives for knowledge, he strives for information. He is able to create a body of knowledge which is on par with the body of information which the Platonic Academy as a group of beings is able to put out.
It was also in the North Apennine Mountains that Leonardo is believed to have discovered the cave that he wrote about in his journal.
The story of the cave, it's very likely that it happened around 1480, since it appears that that's the moment at which this is written in the Codex. The fact that Leonardo chooses to record this encounter with the cave, I think indicates that it had a significant impact on the artist psychologically.
But although the exact location of the cave and the date Leonardo discovered it remains unknown, there are many who believe that it may provide the key to understanding the source of the artist's incredible genius and the answer to the mystery of what happened to him during his missing 2 years.
He goes inside the cave, then he disappears. And it suggests to me time travel portals. He's opening portals or stargates and beaming to either the past or the future and then returning to the present time.
In history, you have certain people, like Leonardo da Vinci, whose genius is just so incredible, and the visions that they have. And in many ways, it's like they're able to see the future. And they're not going to just influence the world then, but what they're going to do is going to dramatically change the world forever. And you have to wonder where people get this kind of inspiration. And in the case of Leonardo, he was able to see things and invent them, in a sense, things that we weren't going to have for hundreds of years.
Is it really possible that Leonardo da Vinci may have obtained his incredible creative and scientific knowledge as the direct result of an extraterrestrial encounter? Or might Leonardo have fallen through a time portal, one which allowed him to actually visit the future? A future where robots, helicopters, military weapons, and other amazing machines actually existed, and which the artist would later try to duplicate. Some ancient astronaut theorists believe the answer can be traced back to work he did on the Annunciation and the significance of his so-called disappearing angel.
Leonardo and Verrocchio's Annunciation portrays the moment at which the angel Gabriel has arrived and is telling the Virgin Mary that she's pregnant with the Son of God.
What some scholars have speculated is that by painting the angel in the Annunciation so that it disappears under X-ray, he is telling us that, like Gabriel, he is the messenger. And then, with his next painting, we're told that this great gift to mankind has arrived. And Leonardo da Vinci's contributions to mankind are truly a gift to the world.
You have to wonder if Leonardo wasn't doing this because he was being encouraged in secret by some kind of extraterrestrial masters who were somehow behind him.
Might Leonardo da Vinci, the man many have called the greatest genius who ever lived, have been chosen by extraterrestrial beings to accelerate the advancement of the human race? Washington, D.C., 1814. 2 years into the bloody War of 1812. The American hopes for victory over the invading English army seemed to be dying. And now, the unimaginable is happening. A foreign army is poised to enter Washington, D.C.
It was a very hot summer that year. The British forces were able to completely overwhelm the very young United States Army at the time, and they marched into Washington, D.C. President Monroe and all of the other politicians had left the capital, and at that time the British forces were finding it basically a deserted city. So they began to set fire to Washington, D.C., starting with the White House. And they were basically gonna just burn down our nation's capital.
The United States of America, then just a few decades old, is on the verge of going down in flames. But then something strange happens.
That summer day was a very hot, sultry day. And at first they thought this would really help burn down Washington, D.C. There weren't any clouds in the sky. But suddenly the weather changed very, very drastically. Big storm clouds moved in. It began pouring rain. And then, suddenly, out of nowhere, this tornado formed. And it went straight at the British troops and forced them to retreat. And at the same time, the pelting rain put out all of the fires. And Washington, D.C. was saved.
History books record this as a stroke of incredible good luck for the Americans. But some ancient alien theorists believe that perhaps this was a UFO encounter, that it was an extraterrestrial intelligence that created that storm and changed the course of that battle, and perhaps of American history.
Is it possible that the storm that helped the United States win the War of 1812 was actually produced by extraterrestrials? And if so, were they trying to protect the fragile American experiment?
It's interesting to speculate that perhaps there was something about America that an extraterrestrial intelligence took interest in, whether it was freedom of religion, new ideas about democracy, about a republic, or something else that drew the attention of aliens and might have made them want to help this country become a success.
And I think that that would really be because the United States as a country was prophesied to exist in a sense. And the extraterrestrials very much nurtured this young United States and watched its growth very carefully. Like a parent watching a child growing up and being very protective of it too. And when the extraterrestrials saw this moment where the United States could lose this war and be occupied, they decided to step in and change history.
Rendlesham Forest, Suffolk County, England. 200 miles east of Rudlow Manor lies 6 square miles of woodlands that has become notorious as the site of Great Britain's most incredible UFO encounter. On December 26, 1980, near an airbase leased to the United States Air Force by the RAF, strange lights are reported on the horizon in what appears to be a possible downed aircraft. 2 U.S. servicemen are dispatched to the site. According to accounts, radios failed as they approached the targeted area, and the air itself felt electrically charged as they closed in.
Strange lights were seen about 300 to 400 meters away from an area what was called the East Gate. And the patrolling officers at the East Gate saw the lights above the forest, and they thought potentially it was a downed aircraft or an aircraft in distress. So 2 of them, Sergeant Penniston and Airman John Burrows, went further into the forest.
Once at the so-called crash site, the men observed a strange triangular craft on the ground, approximately 3 meters wide at its base.
It appeared to be either hovering or on legs, and it had clearly come down into this small clearing and smashed some of the branches off the trees. So there was physical evidence which was looked at afterwards. And so the men looked at this strange object.
I noticed that there was an inscription on the side of the aircraft. I was expecting to find, I don't know, USAF, something like that. And what I find is glyphs, pictorial glyphs, making no sense at all. And then I was running my hand over the side of the craft. It was very warm to touch. At this time, we were getting the feeling of electricity that was just bouncing. It was much, much stronger. There was this feeling of being drawn into it or being pulled into it. Like someone was holding a picture of zeros and ones in my mind's eye.
The strange vision Sergeant Penniston had upon touching the craft has made this one of Britain's most famous UFO encounters.